How much do you want for the carriage? You accept on your biscuits?
Live from Bermuda Broadcasting, this is ZBM TV9 News.
Good evening, everyone. It's Monday, March 19th, 2017. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us tonight. The sad news a family had been dreading. Confirmation today that teenager Mark Dombrowski lost his life in Bermuda. The rugby player had been missing since Saturday night. Gary Foster-Skelton has this report with additional reporting by Gary Moreno.
An awful task in bright sunshine. Police, troops, pals, volunteers at the Arboretum searching for a young rugby player missing since the early hours of Sunday. The grim discovery of his body was made shortly before 5 p.m. today. Mark Dombrowski had left the Doghouse Bar on Front Street at midnight on Saturday, and CCTV footage placed him near the US Consul in Devonshire at around 1:15 a.m. There had been a groundswell of local concern on social media regarding his whereabouts, as well as theories about his state of mind at the time of his disappearance. Before the discovery of Mark's body, his mother, Lisa Dombrowski, responded to those theories. She was at a press conference called by the police.
I have reviewed the camera tapes, and in reading his language, body language, my assessment is that he was not feeling well. He had sustained a shoulder injury in the rugby tournament that day. He's definitely favoring his arm. He wasn't enjoying the party atmosphere as some of the boys were. My assessment is he wanted to get going. I think he wanted to probably get back to where they were staying.
Mark was a freshman student at St. Joseph's University in Pennsylvania. He was here for the 2018 Aerial Re Bermuda International Sevens Rugby Tournament, involving 20 teams, both local and from overseas. The tournament finished on Saturday afternoon, and Mark then went out with friends and family to socialise. Acting Assistant Police Commissioner James Howard confirmed Mr. Dombrowski's death at a press conference late this afternoon.
It is with sadness that the Bermuda Police Service can now confirm the death of 19-year-old Mark Dombrowski of Pennsylvania, United States of America. The Bermuda Police Service extends our heartfelt condolences to his family and friends and to the community. His body was found in the moat at Fort Prospect, which is located at the Mary Victoria Road and police headquarters in Devonshire.
Mr. Howard was asked by our Gary Moreno about who discovered the body.
One of our sergeants was one of the first persons on the scene and located the body.
He was asked if there were any signs of foul play.
Foul play is not ruled out. Right now, the forensic officers are there. They're assessing the scene, assessing the body, and we will provide an update to you in relation to that sometime tomorrow.
The saddest possible news. That was Premier David Byrd's response today after being informed of the death of 19-year-old Mark Dombrowski. Quote, "I know that I speak for all of Bermuda in expressing our heartfelt condolences to the Dombrowski family at a devastating loss. This young man was full of promise, and this tragic end to his life will be mourned by his teammates and friends in Pennsylvania. In the difficult days ahead, my hope is that the family will draw strength from the memories of his life and comfort in knowing that the people of Bermuda continue to extend their thoughts and prayers across the seas." And a 30-year-old man in critical condition after suffering from head injury sustained in a violent incident on Front Street over the weekend. Two men are reported to have been fighting outside the Cosmopolitan nightclub at around 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. Police say it appears that the 30-year-old victim fell and hit his head on the sidewalk after being punched in the face. He was taken to hospital and listed in critical condition in the hospital's ICU. A 25-year-old male has been arrested and is in police custody. Anyone with information about the incident is urged to contact police on 247-1744 or, of course, the confidential Crime Stoppers hotline at 800-8477. In other news, police have named the two victims of Friday night's fatal motor collision in Pembroke. They are 29-year-old Marvin Williams and 34-year-old Marco Salima. The deaths are the island's second and third traffic fatalities this year. Jasmine Patterson reports.
It happened at around 9:30 Friday night on Marsh Folly Road in Pembroke. Police say Mr. Williams was riding his motorcycle in the eastbound lane and Mr. Salima was riding his cycle in the opposite direction until they both collided. One of the victims was also said to have come into contact with a truck. However, the driver, a 55-year-old Devonshire man, was not injured. Marvin Williams and Marco Salima were both seriously injured in the crash, and life-saving efforts were performed at the scene, which continued as they were rushed to hospital in separate ambulances. However, those efforts were unsuccessful as they were later both pronounced dead. An investigation into the fatal collision continues, and police are appealing for witnesses to the incident or anyone who can help track the last 2 hours of either victim's movements before the incident. If you have any information, you are urged to contact Constable Derek Simmons on the main police telephone number at 295-0011. Jasmine Patterson reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
And we'll have more news after this short break, including the Devonshire fire. Stay with us.
All my life is changing every day, in every possible way. Then I open up and see the person falling here is me. 'Cause you're a dream to me.
Made with care, handled with care, delivered with care. That's what dreams are made of.
The whole concept came from the collaboration with BF&M and the America's Cup. The Endeavour programme is the legacy of the 35th America's Cup that was here in Bermuda in June. And we've continued the charity now operating in Bermuda. And going forward, we thought, what a great opportunity for children on the autism spectrum. And hence we actually developed the No Limits programme. They really do benefit from this kind of outdoor experience, this environment. You know, just yesterday going off the east end of Bermuda, I mean, they wouldn't have done that. Not many children in Bermuda have done that. And just them learning to take control of a large bit of transportation that they're doing at that age, and they may never get that opportunity.
That's where you see the biggest progress is whether they were looking at their hand steering, you know, now they're looking forwards and actually looking where they're going because they've realized, oh, I know where my hand is. I can do this without looking at my hand.
We are so grateful for the Endeavour program and what it has done for the students on the autism spectrum.
Welcome back. Well, it's still not clear what caused a large fire over the weekend, which burnt large areas of Devonshire Marsh. Residents were forced to leave their homes on Saturday as the fire spread, but no one was hurt and no damage to houses was reported. Hal Davis reports.
Saturday saw smoke, flames and fire, and as people today are recalling, worry.
We could see the fire in the distance, and we kept coming out to check. Lots of smoke, and then every now and then huge flames were shooting up. And then we were thinking, you know, this is not being retained. It's spreading.
Claudette Cann and her family were in a Devonshire home when the blaze broke out.
It was frightening, because I have a young granddaughter, 10 years old. She packed the bags herself, and she's on medication, but she made sure her medicine went in that bag safely. So I just thank God that no lives were lost and no structure was damaged.
The fire appears to have begun near Island Construction and a stables on the edge of Devonshire Marsh at around 8 a.m. It spread across much of the marsh despite firefighting teams attacking the blaze at 3 points, continuing to burn until early afternoon. The fire service was forced to use water from tanks owned by local businesses, but there was widespread praise for their efforts.
At some points, the fire seemed very close, but from our vantage, we really couldn't see what was happening on a whole. And the fire department were professional. They kept us informed. At some point, we had our own water truck here waiting to douse our building and the grass in our area, because we were right adjacent to the marsh. And they said, hold off. It's not the time to do it yet, save your water. So they could see from their vantage point we had trust in them, and they proved to be absolutely right.
It's not clear what caused this fire yet, but with roads closed and houses evacuated, there'll surely be some questions that the fire service will want answered. The sheer scale of the fire is readily apparent, but it could have been much worse, spreading to businesses like this furniture workshop full of flammable materials. But even today the effects linger, with the government offering to test the water of householders from Brighton Hill to Collectors Hill. as worries are expressed that ash on roofs could contaminate drinking water for some time to come. Howell Davis, Bermuda Broadcasting News.
In other news, two of the island's biggest environmental groups, Green Rock and the Bermuda National Trust, have expressed their disappointment at the government's decision to grant a license to an operator of all-terrain vehicles. They're particularly angered at plans to run the vehicles along parts of the Railway Trail, a national park. Supporters argue the tour could attract visitors, but the plan is unpopular with the public, and this weekend saw discussions aimed at preventing the plan going ahead. Jasmine Patterson tells us more.
Rudolph Buddy Hollis now has temporary permission to operate a new tour business using all-terrain vehicles, or ATVs, along parts of the railway trail and sands. The public were allowed to submit written responses to the plan, in which Minister of Public Works Colonel Birch said 54% believed the ATVs would pose a danger to the public, while 51% said they were concerned for the environment.
Many of the objections, Mr. Speaker, were lodged without the full knowledge of all of the specifics of the operation, such as the vehicles are not the ones seen on television and repeatedly highlighted in the print media as the ones proposed for this venture. The proposal is for guided cultural tours by qualified tour guides. Permission to import a maximum of 10 vehicles has already been granted, but the current plan is for tours of 8, 6 customers and 2 tour guides. The vehicles will not traverse any virgin land, but utilize the paved railway trail and service roads. The operating hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday to Friday, are more than reasonable and will not impinge on many of the other users of the trail. To be clear, in spite of my honest and frank publicly expressed views on the nature of some of the objections, as I indicated then, I did consider each and every submission before arriving at a decision.
The minister has granted a one-year license to the tour operator, but environment groups are not happy with the decision.
You had 628 submissions to it, and only 2 of them were in favor of the proposal, so I think it undermines public trust in the government's commitment to consultation. I mean, what's the point of consulting if the government's just going to do its own decision, which goes against the public interest? We think that the decision goes against public policy and legislation. I would even venture that far to say.
Mr. Starling argues the decision contravenes the National Parks Act by allowing motorized vehicles into areas designated for the enjoyment of nature.
They are also a threat to other users of the trail, children, cyclists, just people walking, horse riders, people with dogs. There's all these different threats to it. There's also a threat to the maintenance of the public trails. If you were to go out to the railway trails now, or even up to Hog Bay Park, you see that the trails are being only barely maintained at the moment. ATVs are going to lead to a greater increase of erosion, and that's going to need more public money spent to repair this.
Green Rock and other concerned groups, including the National Trust, are seeking clarity on the criteria of the one-year trial period. For example, how government plans to measure whether the ATV tour is a viable option or not. It remains to be seen whether those opposed to the license will take legal action against the government. Jasmine Patterson reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
Stay with us. More news in tonight's AccuWeather forecast after the break.
Jane just got diagnosed with dementia. Her doctor recommended home care service. Jane chose Bermuda in-home care, a full home care service with certified dementia care specialists available 24/7. Jane and her family was extremely happy when the caregiver showed up on time. The caregiver prepared her meals, reminded her to take medication, helped her with personal hygiene care, and solved puzzles with her. The family chooses Lighthouse Medical Supplies to set up all her durable medical equipments. Call Bermuda In-Home Care, 705-4424. Your one-stop shop for all your home care services and medical supplies. Taking the hassle out of healthcare, call now, 705-4424.
Hey Bermuda, I want to thank you for welcoming me onto your beautiful island last year. Not only did you completely sell out the shows, but your love, passion, and excitement have inspired me. So much, in fact, that I'm creating an all-new show right now as we speak. And I thought, what better place to debut my all-new illusions than the incredible island of Bermuda. So my friends, it's official. I'm coming back.
Backed by popular demand, One Communications presents Razor returns with an all-new show at the Fairmont Southampton Hotel, May 11th, 12th, and on Sunday the 13th. So come on out to witness some of the biggest illusions the world has ever seen. This event is high-energy, state-of-the-art entertainment. This is a family-friendly event. Tickets sold at Audiovisual Hamilton and Somerset, Fairmont Southampton, and online at ptix.bm. This event is sponsored in part by Exclusive Events, Tessera's family of service stations, Photogenic Photography, and Exclusive Flowers. Tickets are disappearing fast, so get yours today.
Welcome back. Well, Bermuda could have its own Coast Guard by June this year, according to National Security Minister Wayne Keynes. But former Premier Michael Dunkley has questioned the feasibility of creating the unit, arguing the move will just cause uncertainty. Here's Gary Moreno with more.
The recently carried out National Security and Defense Review recommended that a full-time regiment inshore Coast Guard be established no later than June 17th this year. Its job to secure the island's territorial waters out to 12 nautical miles, something former Premier Michael Dunkley says the opposition OBA agrees with, but he has some concerns about the proposed unit, particularly how it is going to be funded.
It's just good political talk that we're going to have an marine inshore capability. I found it interesting indeed that the budget's been written, and in the budget there was money for overseas camp, including airfare and everything else involved in it. And before the budget has even been debated, the minister stands up and gives a statement that the camp is canceled and that money is going to go to the Coast Guard. Well, we don't even know how the Coast Guard is going to work.
Mr. Dunkley questions further whether the minister understands the volume of work required to get an inshore Coast Guard out on the water.
You know, this is not just like getting a couple of boats thrown overboard and getting people to get in them. This is serious business. There's no capital expenditure in the budget. There's $20,000 for capital expenditure in the regiment for marine equipment. $20,000? That'd probably buy you one engine. Can't do anything with that. And you know, the police have the boats now. We did buy a new police boat last year, and they do have some resources. But how's it going to be transitioning? To think that by June 17 this year, it can be in place is, to me, a real stretch.
What's more, he argues the legislation required has not even been tabled yet. But Minister of National Security Wayne Keynes assures measures have been put in place for this new arm of the Royal Bermuda Regiment.
What we see now is an opportunity for the Bermuda Regiment to take on the inshore maritime role. Of course this is new, of course there will be nuances, and we are working with the Bermuda Regiment to come together and to execute a plan. The Bermuda Police Service and the Bermuda Regiment will be working together to make sure this process takes place seamlessly.
All well and good, but how is it going to be paid for?
It's all going to be financed out of the Ministry of National Security. Right now, the Bermuda Police Service handle the maritime policing of Bermuda. There are going to be 14 people that will be hired by the Royal Bermuda Regiment. This will be a phased-in approach, and as we phase it in, it has already been factored in this year's budget because it's literally the numbers will come from one budget to another budget.
And as to Mr. Dunkley's concern about the legislative process for establishing the Coast Guard,
right now we have entrained specific areas of legislation that will be amended, and they will come to the House, and every element will go through the legislative process to make the necessary amendments so that this can be brought into force in law.
And the $20,000 mentioned by Mr. Dunkley as being earmarked for use in the setting up of the Coast Guard, Minister Keynes explains that is for the refitting of a number of boat engines for vessels already being used by the protective services. Gary Moreno, reporting for the Bermuda Broadcasting News.
A bright, sunny day today after a largely forgettable weekend. But what's coming up for the rest of our week? Our AccuWeather forecast has the answers. Let's cross to that now.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
The
BF&M Insurance Group is pleased to bring you tonight's AccuWeather forecast. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brittany Boyer, and here we are on Monday. Hopefully you had a great weekend. It is going to get a little bit bumpy once again this week with another storm system developing off the East Coast that is going to bring us some gusty winds. Not quite together just yet, but it'll be working its way off the North Carolina coast, going northeastward, and then we'll see those winds kicking up once again. And how about temperatures for today? We're almost officially in spring, but not quite feeling like it. We should be close to 70 this time of the year. Temperatures in the low 60s, but the cold front that passed through is going to be working its way north as a warm front, and that's going to help warm up our temperatures as we head into Tuesday and also Wednesday and a couple of days this week. So something to look forward to temperature-wise, not so much with the winds once again, but hey, it's this time of the year where you get those nor'easters off the East Coast and we see the strong winds associated with it. Looking at some of the current conditions right now across the island, we are in the low 60s. It gets better tomorrow. Humidity between 45 and 50%. Winds are out of the northwest thanks to that front that passed through. And we are looking at some cool water out there. Still 65 degrees the current water temperature. As far as the waves are concerned, a big improvement compared to where we were last week and even earlier on in the weekend. However, waves outside of the reef are going to be increasing with this next storm system coming off the East Coast. So Wednesday into Thursday, not only do we see the winds picking up, I expect that we'll have additional advisories out there, and outside of the reef, we could see waves kicking up over 10 feet. So something to keep in mind if you have any plans on heading out over the next couple of days. For tonight, don't expect any significant precipitation, but there could be a spotty shower late. Temperatures right around 59 degrees for tonight. A small craft warning does go in place tomorrow afternoon, continuing into Wednesday. So not really getting a break from the rough conditions out on the water, so please take it easy, especially if you're not a local here trying to head out into the water. High tide 1 coming just before 11 o'clock tonight, and high tide 2 right before lunchtime for tomorrow. And spring is just about here. How about the temperature for tomorrow? Near 70 degrees, a lot better than today. The winds will be increasing as we head into tomorrow afternoon and certainly into tomorrow evening, Wednesday, and also Thursday as well. If you're doing any traveling here, New York City will start to see snow developing later on Tuesday. Same goes for Boston into Wednesday. Atlanta, temperatures are going to be in the upper 60s. More pleasant weather in Jamaica, Trinidad, and also Barbados with those temperatures right now in the mid to upper 80s. Not quite that warm here, but we do see an improvement with our temperatures. However, the winds will be picking up, possibly gusting over 40 knots Wednesday and Thursday, maybe even a thunderstorm on Wednesday. And then we cool off for the weekend with more showers in the forecast.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
Imagine your home working as hard as you, harnessing the power of the sun. While you work, we work. Think solar with BAE. Imagine more power, more often with BAE.
The whole concept came from the collaboration with BF&M and the America's Cup. The Endeavour program's the legacy of the 35th America's Cup that was here in Bermuda in June. And we've continued the charity now operating in Bermuda. And going forward, we thought, what a great opportunity for children on the autism spectrum. And hence we actually developed the No Limits program. They really do benefit from this kind of outdoor experience, this environment. You know, just yesterday going off the east end of Bermuda, I mean, they wouldn't have done that. Not many children in Bermuda have done that. And just them learning to take control of a large bit of transportation that they're doing at that age, and they may never get that opportunity.
That's where you see the biggest progress is whether they were looking at their hand steering, you know, now they're looking forward and actually looking where they're going because they've realized, oh, I know where my hand is. I can do this without looking at my hand.
We are so grateful for the Endeavour program and what it has done for the students on the autism spectrum.
Welcome back. Sports now, and the athletes of the year for 2017 are announced. Delway Rollins scores a half-century in Barbados, and in football, the league titles will come down to the final weekend. Earl Bazin has all those details in tonight's sports package.
On Saturday night, inside the Fairmont Southampton, Tyler Butterfield and Flora Duffy were crowned the Bermuda Male and Female Athletes of the Year. Delray Rollins and Sakari Famous were named the Junior Male and Female Athletes of the Year. Delray Rollins and his South teammates lost the toss in the first game of their North-South cricket series at the Kensington Oval in Barbados and were sent to bat. The South scored 348 all out, with Rollins scoring 53 runs off of 41 deliveries. Rollins would hit 5 fours and 2 sixes in his inning. In reply, the North were bowled out for 284, with the South winning by 60 runs. Rollins bowled 6 overs. He had no maidens, none for 27. He did hold on to a catch. On Saturday night, the defending league champions in the Premier Division, Robin Hood, drew level with PHC Zebras on top of the table following their 15-0 win over Young Man Social Club at BAA. However, yesterday, the PHC Zebras know they now only need a point that would earn them the Bermuda Football Association Premier Division 2017-18 title following their 6-1 win over the Devonshire Cougars at the PHC Stadium. At the Garrison Field yesterday, visiting Dandytown Hornets defeated Crossroads 3-0. The Boulevard Blazers defeated Flanagan's Onions 4-1 at Lords and St. David's. The Flanagan's Onions were officially relegated on Friday night when the Somerset Trojans grabbed a point off of the North Village Rams in a 3-3 draw. In the First Division, BAA earned a promotion spot to the Premier Division with a 5-2 victory over the Somerset Eagles at the Whitehill Field. The Paget Lions' hopes of winning the division and gaining promotion moved one step closer to becoming a reality with a 5-2 win over St. David's at Lords. Southampton Rangers kept their unbeaten streak and promotion hopes alive with a 10-0 win over Hamilton Parish at the Southampton Oval. On Saturday, the St. George's Colts defeated the Devonshire Colts 7-2. Tyler Smith had a breakthrough race during the 2018 Gran Canaria Sprint Triathlon European Cup in Spain. Competing in a 70-competitor elite men's field, Smith finished a strong 18th, clocking a time of 57:12. Kutztown University were crowned the 2018 Ariel Reed Bermuda International Sevens Tournament champions at the National Sports Center on Saturday. Kutztown claimed the Men's College Cup with a 24-12 win over the Bermuda All-Stars, while American International College were crowned the Women's Cup champions with a 19-7 win over the Bermuda All-Stars. The Best of the Best short course swimming series came to an end with some 20 records broken and some were long-standing. Sam Williamson broke Trevor Nelson's 23-year-old record in the 13-14 boys 50-meter breaststroke, clocking 31.98. The previous record by Nelson was 33.03, set back on November 1st, 1994. Keegan Woolley broke Olympian Julian Fletcher's 15-16 boys 50-meter breaststroke record time of 33.13, set back on June 22nd, 2007, when he was clocked at 32.16. Brett Smith broke the boys 15 and over 50-meter backstroke record, touching the wall in a time of 28.36, breaking Nicholas Thompson's June 24, 2007 record time of 28.49. Jack Harvey set a new 13-14 boys 400-meter individual medley record, clocking a time of 5:03.16. Harvey broke Stephen Fay's record time of 5:04.48, which was set on July 1st, 1992. Jesse Washington broke the 200-meter freestyle record, taking Jason Mestelier's record time of 1:54.07 from February 2009 with a new record time of 1:52.40. Washington Swim is also the new Bermuda Open record, taking the record from Ronald Cohen, who set a time of 1:52.79 back in 2002. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
Well, that's it from me. For the moment, we'll have all the latest news for you at the same time tomorrow. I'm Diane Brewer. Have a nice evening.